And now your host, Richard Thomas.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Miracle. You know, sometimes a story comes along that is so filled with humanity that it's simply overwhelming. And our first story is one of these. It spans nearly 8 decades and chronicles a time in American history that many people would like to forget. It's also a story of friendship and how planting the seed of tolerance in one generation can reap many rewards in the next. But above all, this is the story of a miracle. Walter Smith of Richmond, Virginia, is a sculptor with an unusual medium, driftwood.
When I look at a piece of driftwood that has been treated by the tide, and it tells me something of what the tree encountered growing that shows its character and tells a story.
One summer day in 1996, a commission for a new piece of artwork led Walter to the home of Violette Bluford.
Hi, Ms. Bluford. How are you today?
I had read an article about Walter Smith and his unique driftwood arrangements. When he came to visit, he brought some marvelous pieces.
You get some idea of what they look like when I'm finished.
I have not seen anything like them before nor after.
As Violette prepared refreshments for her visitor, Walter noticed something that intrigued him.
Miss Bluford, who is that lovely lady?
That lovely lady.
Violette explained that it was her grandmother, a woman known for her gift of storytelling.
And I have such marvelous memories of her.
Speaking of stories, I have one. It's something of an amazing story.
When I mentioned to Walter that my grandmother was a wonderful storyteller, Walter says, do I have a story to tell you?
We had this gentleman that sold vegetables.
Walter spent the next hour recounting events in his life so rich in detail and emotion that it left Violette almost speechless.
When Walter finished his story, I was overwhelmed with emotion.
That's all there is.
His words actually flow the way a poem would, and I knew this was something really special. That story is much too good not to be shared with the world.
She said, I want you to promise me that you will write this down before you die. I promise you I'll try, and I'll bring you the first copy. And I said, if you think it's that important, I will do it. I went home, thought about it. I had very limited writing experience, but the details were pretty easy to remember. And as I started to write, many memories came flooding back. When I was 8 years old, the stock market crashed. Life changed so completely. My dad had lost his job, and we had very little cash on hand. We had very few toys to play with in those days. We made a lot of our toys. We would have the tin cans, and we'd use them as trucks or as a car. One day, along came this man with a wagon with all sorts of vegetables and fruit. His name was King Brooks. He was a kindly black man who plowed his farm a few crops with an old mule named Maud.
Well, what if I take a couple squash and 2 carrots?
Mother picked out a few things that she needed, and he greeted me real nice. So I asked the man if I might ride down to the end of the block with him.
May I have a ride?
Sure, if it's okay with your mom.
Please, Mom, can I?
It's okay with me, but be careful.
All right. Come on up. Take you to the end of the road and drop you out and let you come on back home, okay?
And I thought I was sitting on top of a mountain. It looked like an awful long ways down. To be up there and going down the street was quite a thrill. I was disappointed that I wasn't going further.
Well, this is the end of the line. I told you, Mom, we won't go no further than the end of the road.
When King let me get off and I was waving goodbye to him,
Well, maybe so.
I was afraid I wasn't going to see him anymore. I wanted to do that again.
Watermelon, come and get your
Walter's wish came true. Nearly every day that summer, he rode next to King as he made his deliveries.
He called out in a crackling voice, corn, tomatoes, beans.
And tomatoes.
He did it in such a beautiful way, I enjoyed hearing him sing it.
fresh red apples, cucumbers too. All these carrots just for you. Whoa.
And a woman would call out and ask him how much his tomatoes were. He would tell them, and I would take them to the porch and bring him the money. He taught me to count. He taught me to make change.
17, 18, 19, 20, and a nickel is 25, okay?
Okay.
I knew that he was kind of slow, and I was much faster with it. I was helping him by saving him the trip.
Good job.
It made me feel real good to feel like I was helping somebody else.
As the days passed, Walter began noticing things that he hadn't before.
In the 1920s, drinking fountains were labeled, toilet facilities were labeled. The black people could not go in the white, and the white people could not go into the black.
Aren't you thirsty, Mr. King?
Yeah, but I can't have a drink here, son.
Why not?
Well, it's for whites only. Come on, let's go.
I really didn't understand why black people were treated different from white people. But at that young age, I didn't question it.
But he also refused to follow the rules.
Here we go.
When it was time for lunch, King would pull Maud over to the side and he'd tie the feed bag on her.
Come on.
Then we would go into the store and he would buy some stuff for us.
Hey, I'm hungry. How about you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got a knee-high and cheese and soda crackers. How much do I owe you, sir?
12 cents.
12 cents.
We would only have one drink between us because he couldn't afford to pay for any more than that.
Let's get some of this rat cheese. Hey, you know where rat cheese come from?
Rats.
As we sat down on the curb, he would pass the drink to me, and I'd drink some out of it, and then he'd drink some out of it, and set it down between us so nobody would see it.
Cheese comes from the cow.
Because in those days, black people and white people were not supposed to drink out of the same vessels.
And the Lord don't care nothing about no colors. You got one color and I got another. The Lord don't care nothing about that.
He told me God made us all,
All he cares about.
and it didn't make any difference whether you were black or white.
You know what?
Boy.
You got a good heart.
And he taught me how to be forgiving and take people, regardless of age, race, or color, all the same.
Rat cheese comes from the cow.
Slowly but surely, this unlikely pair were becoming the best of friends. And at the end of each day, King would reveal his feelings in the best way he knew how.
Did you have a great time? Be careful.
He would come back by my house, and he would say, we have lots of butter beans left,
Here's some potatoes also.
and we have lots of potatoes left. What can you use?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Brooks.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And that was the way I was paid.
All right, see you then.
I felt very good that I was able to contribute something to the well-being of my family.
As the country slowly pulled out of the terrible economic depression of the 1930s, the long summer days on the wagon also came to an end.
It wasn't too long after the third year that I worked with King that my dad got a job. We moved out of the home that we were in, so suddenly I did not have an opportunity to see King and tell him that we were going. I was real sad that I didn't get to see King Brooks. He had been a great friend and had done a lot for me.
Years later, as a young man, he returned to the neighborhood in search of his old friend. But King Brooks seemed to have vanished.
His name was King Brooks. Well, have you seen him around?
There was only one
haven't seen him in a while?
that I could find that remembered him or even lived there
Thanks
then.
anyway. I appreciate it.
He didn't have any idea where I could even look to find him.
He used to do this job selling vegetables. He was a colored man.
I tried everything.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
No more I could do to find King, and the war was getting hot and heavy. The Navy took me in, and I went to war. And then the search was absolutely stopped.
But the lessons he'd learned from King lived on.
On one occasion, I was on leave from my squadron, and the bus was loaded with people. All white people in the front, all black people in the back. The bus approached one of those country stops out there on the road. He picked up this colored gal that had a baby wrapped in a quilt, and there were no seats. There were black people standing there.
Ma'am, would you like to take my seat? You need it more than I do. I'm more than happy to give it to you.
She said, "Thank you, sailor." And she sat down in my seat. The bus rolled on a little bit further, and when it came to a place that the bus driver could get out of the middle of the road, he pulled off.
Okay, lady, back of the bus. You know better.
Sir, I gave her my seat.
She goes to the back of the bus or the bus don't move.
He said, "Young lady, you've got to get up."
The law is the law. You trying to make me lose my job?
No, but I...
So she stood up, and when she did, I said, "Give me the baby."
It's okay.
And I looked up at him and I said,
Is there a law against this?
Not as I know of.
Well, then get up there and drive the bus.
I held that baby for about 2 hours. It made me angry when he told her that she had to stand up and hold the baby. It made me angry because there was such a law in existence. It just didn't make sense.
After the war, Walter tried once again to find his old friend.
Hi, sir. My name's Walter Smith. I want to know if you can help me find an old friend of mine. He was a colored man and a huckster around here.
I wanted to let him know
Yes, sir.
what an impact he had on my life.
I can't help you.
He made a indelible imprint in my mind
Long time, a real long time.
about kindness
Since I've last seen King.
and compassion
What?
for other
Go
people.
next door. They may be able to help you.
Thank you.
But
Thank you, sir.
I never did find the right person to talk to tell me where he was.
The years passed, and Walter raised a family of his own, handing down King's legacy to another generation.
I did everything I could to teach them to be concerned, loving, kind human beings, which goes back to what King was showing me.
It was a time of incredible change, and Walter was encouraged to witness events that would reshape the country.
The civil rights movement was beginning. We were able to see black people who were qualified to do jobs get the opportunity to do them. These people are being able to realize their goals in life without anybody saying, "Hey, you can't do that." And I would love for old King Brooks to see that happen and see that a part of life as God intended it. I wanted to show people what kind of a man it takes to make this country great. And I had prayed for an opportunity to put something together that would show both races that we can live in peace and harmony. One seed Brooks planted years ago, he planted in my heart. That seed of love from God above means true friends never part.
Walter had finished his story, but little did he know that the pages he held in his hands were about to bring him a miracle.
My concern for what I had written was that it wasn't strong enough. I wanted them to know what a good man King Brooks was and what a good man every one of us could be if we followed those examples. I was hoping and praying that that message and a better America would come out.
And so he had a secretary in his office professionally type his manuscript. The finished pages were then copied, and he headed out to mail them to friends and family. At that same moment, a Federal Express courier was arriving at the office.
That particular day, I happened to catch this guy at the corner of my eye, and I just went over to him.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine. How's it going?
Oh, everything's fine. What are you doing?
Just as unexpectedly, Walter found himself eager to share a copy of his story with a virtual stranger.
And I'd like very much for you to read a copy of it. And
Okay.
give me an opinion on it.
Okay, what's it about?
It's about my childhood. I wrote a little bit.
As
about
Walter told him about his old friend, the vegetable vendor, it stirred a memory from the young man's past.
Well, I know that well. I used to go there with my father when I was a boy on a truck selling vegetables over there.
Is that a fact?
Oh, yeah. He says, I know a man who used to deliver vegetables, but he didn't have a truck. He had a wagon.
With my friend King.
King?
Yeah?
King Brooks?
King Brooks. Did you know him?
I said, that's my great uncle.
Man, I've been looking for you.
The friendly courier who had approached Walter for no rhyme or reason was none other than King Brooks' grandnephew, Gerald Brooks.
He said, I've been looking for that man for 7 years. He said, no, I've been looking for you.
I have really tried to find you so that you could tell me where he lived.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody from the family.
His home is still there. Still there.
I could hardly believe it.
Oh, no, he died in 19...
I almost fainted. God has seen to it that I got my desire. Hell, I got you. I don't want to let you go. I was afraid for him to go and leave me and go into the building because I afraid something might happen to him before I could get him in my car and take him out and see where the house was. It was an eerie feeling.
2 days later, Gerald and Walter traveled to the Brooks family farm.
A long time.
A lot of years.
Yep, man.
For Walter, the old homestead was alive with King's presence.
75 years I've wanted to see this.
This is what?
I thought of King Brooks having been there with a mule, plowing the fields that we were standing in the midst of. Thank you again for bringing me out to let me see where old King lived. It's meant a lot to me, and I'll cherish the memory. While I stood under the shade of the big tree, it was almost as if he was still there, in the midst of us, asking a blessing on us.
After a lifetime of searching, the little boy, now an old man himself, had been reunited with his dear friend.
Here's your buddy.
When he showed me the gravesite, I felt like I wanted to pick him up and say, Brooks, I'm back. You could just feel the atmosphere. My King and I were finally there together.
The experience was equally powerful for Gerald.
He turned around and he looked at me as if he said, I am so relieved that I finally found my king. That's what he called him, my king.
He was such a lovable person.
I got goosebumps. I have never experienced that feeling before, and I'll probably never experience it again. That day was a special day in my life.
And today, Walter and Gerald continue to remain an important part of each other's lives.
Lord, Uncle King and Walter must have had a beautiful relationship together. Yeah. And let's take that relationship, that love, and transfer it into our family today. Let everybody say, Amen. Sunday is the family day around the house, and we love to invite Walter. You can feel a certain air about it, that he wants to be there. He feels at home, and we have a blast. And the family loves him. I mean, loves him to death.
I feel that I have become a part of Gerald Brooks's family, And I am so thrilled to be accepted into that type of family, because they are the family of God.
Now, 50 years after King Brooks' passing, his spirit does indeed live on.
Best thing that come out of this story for me with King is my children. I'm hoping that when they go out into the world, that they will see that people shouldn't fight each other. People can learn from each other. If I can plant a seed in a kid today, like my Uncle King planted in Walter 70 years ago, it'll all be worth it. It'll pay off. Because that seed flourished.
King Brooks was my friend. He was my inspiration. I love King Brooks because he gave me the formula to live by and to love by. I'll always carry him in my heart, forever.
Do you ever read the Sunday comics? Do you have a favorite cartoon that you look forward to each week? I do. I can always use a good laugh, but would you ever think of looking in the Sunday comics to find the answer to a mystery? Well, that's what happens in our next story, when the funnies suddenly become very serious. From the time she was a small child, Rhonda Neighbors loved the Sunday comics.
I remember seeing my dad always reading the comics, and when I was old enough to read, I started reading them as well. We would read the comics together, or sometimes if I read them first, then I would go ahead and tell Dad about one of the strips that I read that I thought was especially funny. Even as a teenager, I would always try to make an effort to read the comics at least every Sunday. It's just always been a favorite thing of mine to do.
Even after Rhonda married and started a family of her own, her enthusiasm for the Sunday strips continued. And in 1990, she discovered a new favorite.
I discovered Luann when I was about 20. I liked the sense of humor and really thought the artist was able to capture this teenage girl's view of life and all of her situations, all of her insecurities. I loved it immediately.
Mommy, you got the funny.
And like her father before her, Rhonda shared this love with her own son, Jonathan.
There you go. It's part for you. It would kind of remind me of when my dad and I would read the comics together. So it was kind of a joy to see that he was enjoying them as much as I was.
Not only did Jonathan love reading the comics, but at a very early age, he began to display a talent for drawing them as well.
I knew pretty early on that he definitely had an artistic talent that I didn't have. I didn't really think about where the talent came from. I just knew that he had it. It was just something he inherited from somewhere, but not really sure where.
And then in 1997, an amazing series of events occurred that would eventually explain Jonathan's talents. It all began when Rhonda paid a visit to the doctor.
And do you know if this runs in your family?
I don't know. I was adopted, and I don't have any...
During the course of her examination, the doctor asked Rhonda questions about her medical history and learned that she'd been adopted.
Good idea if you could find that information for us.
Yeah. The doctor suggested that if I was able to obtain medical history, it'd be a great idea.
Until then, Rhonda had never chosen to look for her birth parents.
Hi, Mom. It's Rhonda. I was hoping that you could look up the information about the attorney who did the adoption.
Fortunately, her mother had kept the attorney's name and address, even though 28 years had passed.
Ironically enough, he remembered the whole case, and he sent me the information I requested. I was scared to open the envelope. I didn't know what I was going to find.
Rhonda learned that in 1972, her parents had moved to Australia to become teachers, and that her father had attended Valley State College in Southern California.
One piece of vital information that I was very surprised about was the full names of my parents. This was supposed to be a private adoption, and here it is in print: Betty Danette Ransom and Gregory Clark Evans. And after reading it over and over, I began having some fears about finding my biological parents. Fear of rejection, fear of what if they don't want to have anything to do with me? What if they don't even want to give me medical information? And I just kind of put the information away for a while, because it would always just kind of make me feel this kind of sadness in a way, and just feeling like I'd lost my identity.
To ease her sadness, Rhonda once again turned to the Sunday comics.
I was reading Luann, and I don't normally pay attention to who the artists were, but for some reason I happened to notice this strip is done by Greg Evans. Well, that's my dad's name, but what are the chances that this would be him? There's probably a million Greg Evanses.
Rhonda decided to research the matter online at the Luann website.
I go to this website and begin reading this bio about Greg. It said that Greg was born and raised in the Los Angeles area. It said that he and his wife, Betty, lived in Australia for 2 years, where they lived and taught. I remember just kind of trembling and being frightened, thinking, oh my gosh, I think this really is my biological father.
She only needed one more piece of information to be certain: the name of the college he attended. And so she decided to contact him. But one question remained.
How can I probe for information without just coming right out and saying, I want to know because I think I'm your daughter? So I've kind of devised this little email that I probably rewrote about 4 or 5 times before I actually sent it. Dear Mr. Evans, my son is 11 and a very good artist. He loves your comic strip and is interested in developing his own line of comic books as a career. I would appreciate any information you could give me about your college background, maybe the college you attended and the courses you were enrolled in, to help my son and I plan his college career. And I was very nervous when I hit that send button, thinking, oh my gosh, if this is him, then what am I going to do?
A few days later, Rhonda received a reply.
Rhonda, thanks for your note and the kind words about Luann. Now, for your son, providing him every opportunity to develop his artistic skills is a step in the right direction. Greg's response was not what I'd hoped for, because I asked him for the college he went to and he didn't tell me that. So I thought, oh, okay, now I've got to find another way to fish information out of this person.
After pondering the situation for several days, Rhonda decided to use the direct approach.
Dear Mr. Evans, I am going to be straight to the point with you. My last email asked what college you attended and for your wife's maiden name. My reason for these questions is I think I may be your daughter. And this, I think, was the hardest email of all to write up and send. And I remember when I clicked send, my heart just racing, thinking, okay, you've done it. And that's all I could think about the rest of the day was, did he get the email? Did he read it? What if he doesn't respond at all? Then you'll never know.
And when Greg Evans receives her message, it catches him completely by surprise.
When I got that email, I didn't know what to think. I think my heart was in my throat, and I could barely print this letter out, and took it to Betty.
He said, I have something I want you to read. You better sit down. So, not having any idea what it was, I read this email.
Rhonda's note brought back memories of the painful decision that she and Greg had made almost 30 years before. They were college students when they learned that Betty was pregnant. Unmarried and uncertain of their future together, they decided to give up their baby daughter for adoption.
I loved that baby so much that I wanted to provide it the best home it could possibly have. And realistically, I didn't feel as a 19-year-old that I could do that. So I made the decision that there would be someone out there who wanted a child and would love that child.
Oh my gosh, this is unreal.
Betty could hardly believe that the daughter she'd given up so many years ago had finally found her.
My heart was racing. I was so elated. There was a lot of what ifs. What if she's resentful? What if she doesn't understand our decision? But in the end, we were both excited and we couldn't wait to meet her.
After 2 grueling days of hand-wringing and checking email like every hour, I finally got a response. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, am I ready to open this email?
Dear Rhonda, first, I want to tell you that Betty and I are thrilled that you found us. Yes, Rhonda, we are your biological parents.
I just read that first sentence and just flew away from the computer, and I ran in the living room and was like, oh my God, I found him, I found him.
And the next day, after she'd composed herself, Rhonda dialed the number she'd been given.
Hello?
And I remember just, oh my gosh, I got a voice, now what do I do? Hi, Greg? It's Rhonda.
Oh my gosh, hi Rhonda. It's Rhonda. There was so much to talk about.
I do have long fingers.
Rhonda sounded so excited. And when I listened to Rhonda on the phone, she sounded so much like Betty with just a Texas twang. Betty's right here. Let me let you talk to her. Okay.
Hi, Rhonda. It's Betty. How are you? We talked over 5 hours. And when it was done, the first thing Greg said is, oh my, it's a little Betty. And I think from that moment, I knew she was my daughter, and I already loved her.
6 months later, in July of 1998, Rhonda and her son Jonathan stepped off a plane in San Diego, California, to meet their new family for the first time.
Just like immediately we burst into tears and started hugging. I just never expected it to be like that, and it was wonderful. I brought you some flowers, and then I brought you some cookies, some of your favorites.
There was a little awkwardness in how we started talking, and then we just sort of joked, and that sense of humor that we have in our family sort of carried us through, and it was really comfortable after that.
I didn't think we were ever going to get here. I didn't think you were.
I was so very grateful and glad that she wanted to find us and let us know she was okay.
The main thing we both wanted Rhonda to know was that she was loved right from the beginning, and that we wanted only the best for her.
Not only did Greg and Betty find a daughter that day, but also a grandson and a true chip off the old block.
We're real excited that Jonathan had this cartoonist gene, as Greg likes to call it. And he, of course, was totally thrilled with that. He was so proud.
I hope Jonathan has the same success I've had, or more, because he certainly has the talent. And there's nothing more satisfying than finding a career that utilizes your talent and that you just absolutely love what you're doing.
I'd never thought anybody in my family has done anything really cool till I found out that Greg did Luann. I was like, well, this is where I get my drawing talent from, and it was kind of cool.
Watching her newfound father together with her son only reinforces Rhonda's belief that she experienced a miracle.
My finding Betty and Greg definitely had some kind of divine hand in it. All these little clues I've had over the years, I've always enjoyed reading the comics. My son has this talent in drawing comics. And I really think that when I stumbled across that website and found that information and sent that email, it was just the perfect time for all of us.
I think life is a miracle, and that every baby is a miracle. But I think the miracle in Rhonda is that she was a child for two families, both early on and later in life. and that she made room for both of us as families.
My hope for the future, for all of us, for the whole family, for both families, is that we continue getting to know each other and growing and laughing and loving and having holidays and good times together. I want Rhonda to know that we love her and we're so happy that she's found us and we're back where we belong.
The best thing about finding my parents is to be able to tell them, you made a good choice, I had a good family, I had a good life, and to be able to tell them thank you for doing that. This has been a miracle for me and for my family.
With the Freedom of Information Act and other current laws, more and more adoptive children are finding their birth parents. But Rhonda's search was aided by something more, something miraculous. And we wanted to talk to her about that. And so she joins us now, along with her parents and her 3 children. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Richard.
How are you all doing?
We're good, good.
Excellent.
Now, Rhonda, when you first stumbled on your father's name in the Sunday comics, did you have any idea that that would lead you to your mother as well?
No, actually, I really thought I would just find my mother first and maybe not find my father. So it was quite a shock and a very pleasant surprise to find them both and to find them together. A lot of times the parents don't stay together. And so, I mean, it was really wonderful, and I just couldn't believe it.
Well, what seems just as hard to believe is this whole cartoonist's gene being passed down from generation to generation. That's pretty remarkable.
It is, because you don't find too many cartoonists around, and to find one in your own family who's talented and interested is really extraordinary. I really expect him to do great things.
Have you ever thought of incorporating any of these amazing events into your comic strip?
I have thought about it, but I haven't worked out quite how to do it yet. It's a complicated story, but I think I might give it a try sometime.
Well, we have something special to add to your story that just might help bring a miracle into someone else's life. Wendy's Restaurants has agreed to donate $1,000 to your favorite charity.
Thank you.
That would be great.
That is great.
It's their way of showing what a difference a miracle makes. Do you have any idea who you'd like the money to go to?
You know, Richard, we've lost several family members to cancer, and I think as a family we would like to donate it to the American Cancer Society.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. And we appreciate your taking time to tell us your story.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank
Bye.
Thanks to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that's our show for now. Thank you for joining us. And a special thanks to all the people who shared their remarkable stories tonight on It's a Miracle. It's our hope that whenever you need one, you'll find a miracle in your life, too. Until next time, I'm Richard Thomas. Goodbye.